The headset crackled with static. Then a woman's voice tore through the line, ragged and desperate. "He's not breathing. Oh God, he's not breathing." I kept my tone level, professional. 3 years as a 911 operator had taught me to stay calm when everyone else shattered. I glanced at the call display. The number wasn't saved in my phone, but I knew it. I'd called it 1,000 times. Before we continue, we ask you to hit the hype button, subscribe, and like the video to help the channel grow. Tell us which city you are from in the comments. We would like to get to know our audience better. "Ma'am, I need you to stay calm. Tell me exactly what happened." We were just talking, and he grabbed his chest and fell, and now he won't wake up." Cleo's voice, my fiancée's voice. But she didn't recognize mine. "Is he breathing at all? Check his chest." "No, nothing. Please send someone." My fingers moved across the keyboard, dispatching an ambulance to the address she'd given, a Marina-side apartment, Unit 12B. I knew that building. Darren Holt, the charter boat captain, lived there. "I'm sending help right now. I need you to start CPR. Are you able to do that?" Yes, I think so." Place both hands on the center of his chest. Push hard and fast, about 2 inches deep. Don't stop until paramedics arrive. I could hear her counting compressions between sobs. I could hear another woman in the background asking what happened. I could hear everything falling into place with horrible clarity. While Cleo performed CPR on her lover, I opened another window on my computer. I booked a moving truck, scheduled it for pickup in 2 hours, sent myself a reminder to meet it at our house. "They're coming," I told her. "Keep going. You're doing great." "Please hurry," she whispered. "They'll be there in 4 minutes." I stayed on the line exactly as protocol required, guiding her through every compression, every breath. When the paramedics arrived and took over, she thanked me with a broken voice and hung up. I sat in the dispatch center, surrounded by the quiet hum of computers and the distant chatter of my coworkers handling other emergencies. I pulled off my headset. My hands weren't shaking. My heart rate felt normal. I'd expected rage, but what I felt was something colder, clearer. I logged the call, marked it complete, and told my supervisor I needed to take my break early. Family emergency. Technically true. At 3 in the morning, my car pulled into the driveway of the house Cleo and I had shared for 2 years. The moving truck sat waiting, just as I'd arranged. I'd spent my entire break packing her belongings with surgical precision, clothes folded, toiletries boxed, every photograph of us together, every gift she'd given me, every trace of her presence in my space. I wasn't angry. Anger was messy. This was something else. The key turned in the lock just as I finished taping the last box. Cleo stepped inside, her eyes red from crying, her diving company jacket still zipped up against the night chill. She froze when she saw the towers of cardboard boxes stacked in the living room. "Rylan? What? How's Darren?" I asked. My voice carried no emotion. "Did they get him stabilized?" Her face went white. "I don't know what you... I was your operator tonight. Dispatch call 4772. You called from his apartment. He had a heart episode. You performed CPR. The paramedics said he'd probably make it." Cleo's mouth opened, but no sound came out. I gestured to the boxes. "Everything's packed. The truck's outside. I've already arranged for storage. The rental agreement is in your name." "This is insane. You don't understand." "I understand perfectly." I pulled out my phone, opened the recording app. "Actually, I understand better than you think. See, 911 calls are recorded. Every word, every sound, including the part where the paramedic asked how long you'd been seeing him." "Rylan, please." 3 months, you said. You've been with him for 3 months?" She reached for me, but I stepped back. The distance between us felt like a canyon. "It's not what you think," she said, and I almost laughed at how predictable the words were. "It was a mistake. It just happened. We worked together and you fell into his bed? Multiple times for 3 months? I was going to tell you." "No, you weren't." The certainty in my voice seemed to crack something in her. She slumped against the wall, and for a moment I saw genuine fear cross her face. Not fear of me, fear of consequences. "Where am I supposed to go?" she asked. "I don't care." "Rylan, we can work through this. Couples therapy, we can... The engagement is terminated. Your name's already off the lease. I spoke with the landlord during my shift. Turns out having documented proof of infidelity makes these things easier." "Documented proof? What are you talking about?" I showed her my phone screen. Not the 911 recording. That would be illegal to share. But screenshots. Marina booking records showing Cleo's name on Darren's vessel manifests. Dates and times. Public records, all of it. Time-stamped social media posts from tourists who'd been on those excursions, showing Cleo and Darren standing close, laughing, touching. One photo showed them on the deck at sunset, her hand on his chest, his arm around her waist. The tourist had captioned it, "Relationship goals," with a heart emoji, posted 6 weeks ago. "You're insane," Cleo whispered. "No, I'm thorough. There's a difference. You're scaring me." "Good. You should be scared. Not of me. Of yourself. Of what you're capable of when you think no one's watching." I picked up her jacket from where she'd dropped it and held it out to her. "The truck driver's waiting. You have 2 hours of covered time. After that, it's $30 per hour. Your problem, not mine." "I'm not leaving tonight. We need to talk about this." "We really don't." "Rylan, leave, Cleo. There's nothing left to discuss." Something in my tone finally reached her. She took the jacket with shaking hands and walked out the door. I watched through the window as she stood on the lawn, phone to her ear, probably calling Darren, probably crying, probably spinning a story about the crazy ex-fiancé who'd snapped. Let her. I had time, I had information, and most importantly, I had control. The next morning, I went to work as if nothing had happened. I told my supervisor the family emergency was handled and took my dispatch seat. Calls came in, accidents, a kitchen fire, medical distress, and I managed them with calm precision. Between calls, I researched Darren Holt, 36, owner of the Sea Phantom, a dive charter boat. Good reviews, thin financial margins, past liens, and 1 Coast Guard warning for safety violations. All public record, all legal to view. And I knew exactly what to look for. Darren's social media painted a polished image, sunsets, clients, praise, but Cleo appeared in dozens of photos, their professional chemistry impossible to miss. I saved everything. Not for court, for leverage. During lunch, coworkers invited me for drinks. I declined. No one at work knew about Cleo. My controlled privacy served me well. A text arrived from an unknown number. "We need to talk. This is Darren." I deleted it. Another followed. "Be a man and move on." That one made me smile. I replied, "Coast Guard inspection. Tomorrow, 9 a.m. It wasn't scheduled, but my detailed safety complaint was already filed. The violations were real. I'd simply paid attention. Darren's frantic response went unanswered. I finished lunch and returned to work, coordinating a major multi-vehicle crash with flawless steadiness. After my shift, I allowed myself 5 quiet minutes to feel the weight of what I was doing, then drove to the marina. The Sea Phantom sat in slip 37 under bright lights. Darren and his crew unloaded gear. I watched, unseen, studying the vessel's layout. Cleo wasn't there. When the crew left, I approached the dock. Darren saw me and bristled. "You've got some nerve." "Just admiring the famous Sea Phantom." Darren threatened me. I gestured to the security cameras. Darren backed down. "What do you want?" "Nothing. I already have what I need." We argued. About Cleo, about motives, about consequences. Darren's anger rose. I stayed level. "I know about tomorrow's inspection," I said. "1 more violation could shut you down." "Did you report me?" "I reported what I saw. Anyone can. Safety matters." I turned to leave, pausing only to mention the uncapped fuel intake hose. Darren cursed and rushed to check it. Control. I drove home with the windows down, letting cold air sharpen my thoughts. I cooked dinner, ate slowly, and reviewed the plan. The inspection would ground Darren. Phase 1. Phase 2 would require finesse. The Coast Guard inspection found 3 minor violations. Nothing catastrophic, but enough to ground the Sea Phantom for a week while corrections were made. I read about it in the public inspection reports posted online. I also saw the angry post Darren had made on social media, ranting about harassment and vindictive complaints without naming names. The comments section was interesting. Several former clients chimed in with their own concerns about safety. One mentioned seeing unsecured equipment during a dive trip. Another recalled Darren rushing through the safety briefing, small cracks forming in the carefully maintained image. I also noticed Cleo had stopped posting on social media entirely. Her accounts were still active, but silent, hiding. I continued my research, dug deeper into Darren's business finances through public records. The company had taken out a loan 18 months ago, probably for boat repairs or upgrades. Monthly payments were substantial. The week of lost income from the grounding would hurt, but I wanted more than financial pressure. I wanted public exposure. I wanted everyone who'd ever looked at Darren and Cleo with envy to see the rot beneath the surface. I created an anonymous email account and reached out to Amanda, one of Cleo's coworkers I'd seen tagged in old photos. Professional message, nothing threatening, just asking if she knew whether Cleo was okay since she'd been unreachable. Amanda replied within an hour. Honestly, there's been a lot of talk at work. People saw her with Darren a lot. More than professional. I feel bad saying this, but I think something was going on. Is that why you two split? My response was careful. I'd rather not get into details, but yes, I appreciate you being honest. I'm sorry, that's awful. For what it's worth, a lot of us thought you two were good together. She talked about you all the time at first. Then she just stopped. 3 months ago, right when the affair started. Thanks, Amanda. I appreciate it. The conversation planted seeds. Amanda would talk to other coworkers. Word would spread. Not from me directly, but through natural gossip channels. Plausible deniability. 3 days after the inspection, my phone rang. Cleo's mother. Rylan, honey, what's going on? Cleo won't tell me anything except that you two broke up. It's complicated, Mrs. Jorvin. She's devastated. She says you threw her out with no warning. Is that what she told you? She said you had some kind of breakdown, that you weren't yourself. I stirred my pasta, considering my response. The pot bubbled on the stove, steam rising. I'd made enough for one. The recipe had served 2 for years. I'd adjusted. I found out she'd been unfaithful for 3 months. I ended the relationship. That's all. Silence on the other end. Then, oh, yeah. Rylan, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. She didn't tell you because the truth makes her look bad. That's okay. People protect themselves however they can. What are you going to do? I'm going to move on with my life. I suggest she does the same. She's saying you're harassing her new boyfriend. Something about his boat? I filed a legitimate safety complaint with the Coast Guard. They found violations. That's not harassment, Mrs. Jorvin. That's civic responsibility. If Cleo wants to frame basic safety concerns as harassment, that tells you everything about her priorities. Another pause. I could hear her breathing, processing. You were always so good to her. I don't understand why she would. Neither do I. But it doesn't matter anymore. I hung up gently and finished cooking. The pasta was perfect, the sauce rich and savory. I ate alone at the table, the empty chair across from me no longer feeling like a loss. Just empty space, neutral, available for something better. After dinner, I researched Cleo's employer. The diving tour company had a solid reputation, family-owned, operating for 15 years. Their website featured staff profiles. Cleo's photo smiled from the screen, listing her certifications, her years of experience, her passion for marine life. I wondered how long before they learned about the affair. Not from me, I wouldn't stoop to that. But in a small community like the Marina District, secrets didn't keep. Someone would mention it. A tourist who'd seen them together. Another boat captain. Word would spread. I didn't need to do anything, just wait. 3 days later, Cleo showed up at my workplace. Security called me from the lobby during my shift. Sir, there's a woman here demanding to see you. Says she's your fiancée. Ex-fiancée. Tell her I'm unavailable. She's becoming disruptive. I sighed and asked my supervisor for a quick break. I took the stairs down to the lobby, needing the time to prepare my expression. Neutral, professional, nothing she could use against me. Cleo stood in the lobby, her hair uncombed, her eyes wild. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. Dark circles, chapped lips, her diving company jacket wrinkled and stained. You're ruining my life, she said when she saw me. Her voice carried across the lobby. Other people turned to look. I'm doing nothing. You ruined your own life. Everyone knows. Everyone at work. They're looking at me like I'm some kind of pariah. That's because you are. Darren's business is failing because of you. Darren's business is failing because he cut corners on safety. The Coast Guard found legitimate violations. I didn't invent them. You knew exactly what you were doing. You targeted him. I reported what I saw. That's all. If he'd been running a safe operation, there would have been nothing to find. She grabbed my arm, her fingers digging in. I gently pulled away, conscious of the security guard watching. Cleo, you need to leave. This is my workplace. I need money. The storage unit is expensive and I can't afford. Get it from Darren, or get a job. Not my problem anymore. I have a job, but I took time off because I can't face everyone, and that's your choice. You can face them or you can hide. Either way, not my concern. Please, Rylan, I'm begging you. Just a loan. I'll pay you back. I looked at her, Really looked at her and saw someone I didn't recognize anymore. Maybe I never had. The woman I'd planned to marry had been a fiction, a character she'd played. This desperate, disheveled person was who she actually was when the mask fell away. "No," I said simply. "I'm going to tell people what you did. How you're stalking me and Darren, how you filed false reports." "The reports weren't false. The Coast Guard confirmed that. But sure, tell people. See how that works out for you." Her face crumpled. "I hate you." "I know. Doesn't change anything." Security escorted her out. I watched through the glass doors as she stood on the sidewalk, phone pressed to her ear, probably calling Darren, probably crying. I went back upstairs and returned to work. A domestic disturbance call came in, a woman screaming that her husband had locked her out. I dispatched officers, stayed on the line until they arrived, guided the woman through the process with patience and calm. When my shift ended, my supervisor pulled me aside. "Everything okay with your ex?" "She's having trouble adjusting. It'll settle down." "If she comes back, we'll handle it. You don't need to deal with that here." "Appreciated." I drove home and found another message from Darren waiting on my phone. This one was a voicemail, left an hour ago while I'd been handling calls. "Listen, man, I get it. You're hurt, but this has to stop. Cleo's falling apart. I'm losing contracts. This isn't solving anything. Call me. Let's talk like adults." I saved the message but didn't respond. Instead, I went online and checked the joint bank account I'd been meaning to close. My stomach dropped. Multiple withdrawals over the past 3 weeks. Small amounts at first, $50 here, $100 there. Then larger ones in the past few days. $500, $1,000. And yesterday, a massive withdrawal of $8,000. The account was nearly empty. She'd been draining our savings systematically, probably funding Darren's repairs, probably building her escape fund. The realization hit me like ice water. This wasn't impulsive. This was calculated. I sat at my kitchen table and made a list. Every withdrawal, every date, every amount. Then I called my bank and requested a full transaction history going back 6 months. "I'll need that in writing," I told the representative. "Official bank records with timestamps and locations." "May I ask what this is for?" "Legal purposes. I'm consulting with an attorney about potential asset conversion." The representative's tone shifted, became more formal. "I'll have that sent to you within 3 business days." I hung up and opened my laptop. Time to find a lawyer. Not just any lawyer. Someone who specialized in financial disputes and asset recovery. I found Patricia Vance through reviews and referrals. Former prosecutor, now in private practice, reputation for being ruthless but ethical. Her consultation fee was steep, but I booked an appointment for the next morning. That night, I barely slept. Not from stress, but from anticipation. The pieces were aligning. The case was building. And soon, very soon, Cleo and Darren would understand that consequences were real. The consultation with Patricia Vance lasted 90 minutes. She reviewed my documentation with sharp eyes, making notes, asking pointed questions. "This is good," she said finally. "Really good. You've got dated withdrawals, a clear timeline of the affair, and circumstantial evidence linking the stolen funds to his business expenses. If you can prove she used joint marital assets to benefit a third party without your consent, that's textbook conversion." "What do I need to prove it?" "Darren's business records showing payments that match the withdrawal dates. Witness testimony from marina staff or repair companies. Maybe even social media posts showing new equipment that appeared around the time of large withdrawals." I pulled up my phone and showed her screenshots I'd already compiled. Darren's Instagram post from 3 weeks ago showing a new dive computer system. Caption, "Upgrade time." Posted 2 days after a $3,000 withdrawal from the joint account. Another post from a month ago. New navigation equipment courtesy of a generous investor. Posted the same day as a $2,000 withdrawal. Patricia's smile was sharp. He's documenting his own liability. This is almost too easy. "So, we have a case?" "We have an excellent case. File for asset recovery, demand full repayment plus legal fees and punitive damages. I'd estimate 18 months to resolution, but will make their lives extremely uncomfortable in the meantime." "Let's do it." The paperwork was filed within a week. Cleo and Darren were both served with summons to appear for depositions. The lawsuit demanded full financial disclosure from both parties, including bank records, business accounts, credit card statements, and tax returns. I imagined their faces when they received the documents. The panic, the scrambling, the sudden realization that this wasn't going away. 3 days after the summons were served, Darren left a voicemail. Different tone this time. No bravado, just barely controlled rage. "You need to back off, man. This legal action against Cleo is harassment. If you don't drop it, you and I are going to have a serious problem. I mean it. This stops now, or you'll regret it. I saved the voicemail and immediately forwarded it to Patricia. She listened once, then called me back. That's a direct threat. I'm forwarding this to local police for documentation. If he contacts you again, call them immediately. What if he shows up? Then you defend yourself and press charges. But honestly, I think he's all talk. Men like Darren are used to intimidating people with size and bluster. When someone doesn't back down, they usually fold. But I wasn't convinced. I'd seen the expression in Darren's eyes at the marina. That tense, volatile edge, the kind of ego that couldn't handle being opposed. I decided to push one more time, test the limits, see how far Darren would go. That evening, I drove to the marina. The sun was setting, painting the water gold and red. The Sea Phantom was docked, lights on in the cabin. Darren was alone, bent over the engine compartment, tools scattered on the deck. I walked down the dock slowly, deliberately. My footsteps announced my arrival. Darren looked up, and something ugly crossed his face. You've got some nerve coming here after that lawsuit. We need to talk. I've got nothing to say to you. Darren climbed up from the engine compartment, wiping grease from his hands onto a rag. His movements were tense, coiled. Then listen. The money Cleo took from our joint account, $14,000 total, where did it go? None of your business. It is when she used my money to fund your boat repairs. That makes it theft by conversion. My lawyer explained it very clearly. You're both liable. Darren's face darkened. You really don't know when to quit, do you? I know exactly when to quit. This isn't it. I warned you. I told you to back off. I got your voicemail. My lawyer's already forwarded it to the police as evidence of criminal threats. You should probably stop talking. Something snapped in Darren. He moved fast, closing the distance between us in 3 long strides. His hand shot out and grabbed me by the collar, slamming me backward into the dock railing. The wood bit into my spine, but I didn't resist, just absorbed the impact, cataloging every detail. You think you're so smart, Darren hissed, his face inches away. I could smell oil and sweat and anger. Hiding behind lawyers and paperwork. Let's see how smart you are. That's assault, I said calmly. On camera. The marina has security footage running 24/7. Darren's eyes flicked toward the office building, saw the cameras, but didn't let go. I don't care anymore. You've destroyed my business. You've turned everyone against me. What's a little assault charge on top of that? So you're admitting Cleo used my money for your business? The question caught Darren off guard. His grip loosened slightly. What? You just said I destroyed your business, but I didn't touch your business. I reported safety violations. The Coast Guard found real problems. The only thing I did that affected your finances was sue to recover stolen money, which means you're admitting that money went to your business. Darren's face went pale as he realized his mistake. He released me and stepped back, breathing hard. Get off my boat. Gladly. But one more thing. That threat you just made? Also on camera, with audio. My lawyer's going to love this. I walked away, my heart pounding but my steps steady. Behind me, I heard Darren cursing. Heard something metal hit the deck, but no footsteps following. The captain was smart enough not to attack someone's back on camera. As I reached my car, my phone buzzed. Text from Patricia. Police have officially documented the threat. If he contacts you again, they'll issue a restraining order. Nice work. I sat in my car for a moment, replaying the confrontation in my mind. Darren had admitted the financial connection. On camera, in front of marina security cameras that the police could subpoena. The case was getting stronger by the day. The deposition took place 3 weeks later in a sterile conference room downtown. Cleo sat across the long table from me, her lawyer beside her, a court reporter typing silently in the corner. She looked worse than I'd ever seen her. Gaunt, pale, dark circles carved deep beneath her eyes. Patricia opened with basic questions, establishing timeline and facts. When did the relationship with Darren begin? How often did they see each other? Cleo answered mechanically, her voice flat. Around 3 months before Rylan found out. 3, maybe 4 times a week. And during this time, you were still living with Mr. Calix? Sharing expenses? Maintaining the appearance of a committed relationship? Yes. Patricia slid a document across the table. These are bank records from the joint account you shared with Mr. Calix. Can you explain these withdrawals? $14,000 in 3 months? Cleo stared at the paper, her face going paler. I needed money. For living expenses. Do you have receipts for these expenses? No. Patricia pulled out another document. Darren's Instagram posts, printed and annotated with dates. Mr. Holt posted about new equipment during the same time period as your withdrawals. Coincidence? Cleo's hands shook. I might have helped him with some expenses. How much? Maybe more than 10,000. Did you have Mr. Calix's permission to loan joint funds to your lover? No, because I knew he'd say no. Patricia let that hang in the air. I kept my face neutral. Darren's deposition 3 days later was worse. He admitted receiving money from Cleo, admitted using it for boat repairs, tried to claim it was a gift, but couldn't explain why Cleo had said otherwise under oath. The settlement offer came 2 days later. Full repayment of $14,200. All legal fees, another $8,000. Payment plan over 18 months. Patricia called with the news. They caved completely. You won. But I wanted one final moment. One public reckoning. The confrontation happened at the marina on a cold evening. I had called them both there, claiming I wanted to discuss payment terms in person. They came separately, not knowing the other would be there. When they both arrived and saw each other, confusion crossed their faces. Then I stepped out of the shadows near the Sea Phantom. I wanted you both here, I said calmly. Together, so you could see what you did. This is harassment, Darren said, but his voice lacked conviction. No, this is closure. You both stole from me. You both lied to me. You both thought I was too weak to fight back. Cleo's eyes filled with tears. Rylan, please. I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to show you that actions have consequences. The settlement is signed. You'll both be paying for the next 18 months. Every check you write will remind you what you did. Darren stepped forward, anger flashing. You self-righteous. But I didn't flinch. I stood my ground, and something in my stillness made Darren stop. You destroyed my business, Darren said, voice breaking. No, you destroyed it when you cut corners on safety, when you stole from your girlfriend's fiancé, when you documented your own crimes on social media. I just held up a mirror. I turned to Cleo, and you. You could have just left, ended things honestly, but you wanted everything, security with me, excitement with him, and money from both. You got greedy. I'm sorry, she whispered. I know you are. Now. But you weren't sorry when you were taking the money. You weren't sorry when you were lying to my face every night. You were only sorry when you got caught. I looked at them both. These two people who'd tried to break me, they looked small now, diminished. The golden couple from the Instagram photos was gone, replaced by two people drowning in consequences. The settlement stands. 18 months of payments. After that we're done. I never want to see either of you again. I walked away from the marina for the last time. Behind me, I heard Cleo crying and Darren cursing, but I didn't look back. I got in my car and drove home. My apartment was quiet, clean, my own. Tomorrow I'd go to work, answer calls, help people in crisis, do what I was good at. Tonight, I'd won.